Good evening and thanks for joining us on ARC Salt Lake. I'm Jamie McGriff. It's Monday, March 9th, and tonight we are taking a look at a new lawsuit filed against organizers of Salt Lake City's No Kings protest. But first, our Brian Schnee has an update on the Corey Richens murder trial as it enters its third week.
Day 10 of the Corey Richens trial here in Summit County. Court getting out around 4:30, but boy, was it an interesting day. We had Eric Richens' business partner, one of his better friends, talked about their relationship, their hunting trips together, also their business. That was Cody Wright. Took up a good portion of the morning. We also heard from the lead detective on this case who testified about what they did when they got into the home. What were some of the things that they looked for? And is there a conversation that stands out?
And can you explain, just because we're going to get into this in a minute, what they told you on that second conversation?
I'm trying to remember. They said they had been fighting a lot and that Corey was erratic when she was drinking and that Eric had told them that she had threatened to kill him.
So it was just her word. You didn't corroborate with anybody else?
Not that I can recall.
Most of the afternoon, entertaining conversation from a private investigator who spent nearly 1,000 hours working this case. Todd Gabler was sought out by the Eric Richens family, had been paid comfortably to do so, and spent nearly 1,000 hours working on this, going through phone records and going through documents and spending time at the household as of May 8th, 2023, when that house was turned over by the sheriff's office. Detective Gabler was there saying that he walked through it with one of Corey's attorneys at the time and then continued to stay there virtually for almost 5 days in a row. And he uncovered a lot of things, he says.
How many have you worked for the defense?
All of them. I have always sat on that side of the room, standing in between the state and a defendant.
And you mentioned, sir, that you testified about 12 times. Have you ever testified for the state?
Never. In this case, it was clear to me that two hypotheses needed to be looked at. Number one, Eric took his own life as a matter of accidental overdose. Number two, Corey Richens surreptitiously had Eric ingest a massive amount of fentanyl and killed him. So, as the case proceeds, and I see new data, I see phone data, I see computer data, I interview people, I look at documents or things or other devices. All of that data gets fed into one of those two hypotheses, both of those hypotheses. Does this confirm it? Does it deny it?
We expect the prosecution to potentially rest their case tomorrow. They did say this morning they had a handful of witnesses. We made it through most of them, including one of the two law enforcement officers. We also had a crime scene tech who also spoke today, specializing in handwriting. He was also one of the speakers earlier on the stand in the early morning hours of testimony today. But we expect tomorrow to be dominated by Detective Jeff O'Driscoll, and we will see if the state rests their case. Gets going at 9:30 on Tuesday morning. Reporting from Park City, I'm Brian Schnee.
A Saratoga Springs man faces first-degree murder charges for allegedly killing his wife. In court documents, prosecutors say 57-year-old Alvaro Jose Urbino Rojas killed his wife, Jesulem Eliath Janice Vitola, and left her body in a camper trailer. Right now, Rojas is not in custody. Police think that he may have left the state. He hasn't been seen since February 26th. The family of the man killed in Salt Lake's No Kings protest last June has filed a civil lawsuit in connection to the deadly shooting. Today, we heard from the widow of Afa Ah Loo and attorneys on the case as they outlined who they say is responsible. 2 News' Ariel Harrison reports.
At a time when two of the best kids on earth should be learning to ride bikes with their dad, running into his arms after work or school.
Talking about her children, Lara Ah Loo fought back tears as she described the loss her family continues to face 9 months since the death of her beloved husband, Afa.
They live with the awful reality that their dad was killed by a bullet. in a situation that could have been prevented.
Matthew Alder, the peacekeeper who fired the deadly shot into the crowd that day, is not the only defendant named in the suit. Several Utah organizers of the rally are listed as well, alleging they failed to follow national safety standards and allowed an untrained volunteer to act as security of a large public gathering.
As a result, killed a husband, a father, and a giant in our community.
The lawsuit also mentions issues with the way the permit for the event was applied for and approved. And attorneys say the defendant list could grow.
We're still investigating the facts, and there may be others that bear some responsibility for what happened, namely Salt Lake City or the Salt Lake City Police Department.
While the lawsuit seeks financial compensation for the family, it also calls for stronger safety measures at future public demonstrations. Accountability Laura and her legal team feel go beyond the civil case.
It is my sincere desire that my husband's death will help all of us think about how we can make large public gatherings safer for everyone.
In Utah, we've never addressed this question, and it needs to be addressed by the legislature.
Now, the lawsuit lists Afa, his wife, children, and mother as the plaintiffs. It does not specify the amount of money they are seeking in this suit. It does say that will be determined and specified at the time of the trial. Reporting from State Street, Ariel Harrison, KUTV 2 News.
Wayne County is hosting several wellness events today as the community continues to grapple with last week's triple homicide. And students returned to class for the first time since the tragedy. 2 News' Liv Kelleher spoke with the superintendent of Wayne County School District to learn how students are feeling.
When something like this happens in the community, what do you see kind of brought up within children? Is it anxiety? Is it fear? Like, what is the concern?
Just a little bit of anxiety, apprehension, unknown. I mean, in this community, word spreads by word of mouth and social media faster than anything, and I think parents have tried to shield their kids from some of the details a little bit, but there's a lot of talk out there, and everybody knows something, and when we cancel school, obviously they understand something's gone on. I don't know how much detail the kids in the community have or know, but I have talked with a couple of parents who said their kids are a little apprehensive, not sure what's going on in the community. They're not sure if they feel safe. I talking with one of our employees a few minutes ago, and it was mentioned that, I mean, his wife is concerned. She's out in the community. She likes to go running, for instance, and you know, if you're out running in the community, who knows? But one thing we try to reassure people is this is a once in a generation type event in this county, and hopefully it stays that way. We just don't have this kind of thing happen here. So unfortunately, the world we live in, it's probably going to happen more and more. We know it's happening more and more, but it does put an emphasis on the school safety and some of the things we've been trying to do to make our schools safer, and we try to reassure kids that this school is probably the safest place they can be.
In other news, as a tornado bore down on her car, a mother of 8 with deep ties to Utah tried to protect her kids. It was the last thing that Jody Owens did before the twister struck in Fairview, Oklahoma, killing her and her 13-year-old daughter, Lexi. 2 News' Mika Miyashima reports.
I consider her a hero. Like, that is a heroic thing to do, to be taking care of someone else while you're also in danger. And that danger eventually took her life.
Loved ones say Jody Owens spent her final moments trying to protect her kids.
She was with her daughter Lexi and on their way home from her friend's house.
Jody was on the phone with her other children who were at home when her vehicle was struck by a tornado.
Jody was trying to get them to go to the shelter because she knew a tornado was coming. She didn't realize it was right above her. And as she was on the phone with Bree, they screamed, and then the phone went dark. It appears that they were blown off the road and hit a tree, and then dragged through a field slightly, and then the entire vehicle was lifted into the air and thrown about 300 yards.
Jody's brother tasked with breaking the news to their younger brother.
And all I could hear from him were sobs. And that's when the tears came for me. That's when the realization came that she was gone.
Jody's husband David says his wife and mother of 8 kids made him a better person.
I am a better person. I did not deserve Jody Owens. I just can't express how wonderful of a person she is. In fact, it's just fitting that the Utah Memorial is actually going to land on a Saturday, the 21st, which is our anniversary. And Jody and I were married in Springville, Utah, 23 years, ago. And
Coming up on Ark Salt Lake, Gunlock Falls are flowing, a rare occurrence for the state park. What this means for Washington County Conservancy District's water levels. The Gunlock State Park waterfalls are flowing, a rare phenomenon that the park says has only happened 4 times in 15 years. But the Washington County Water Conservancy District says to not be fooled by what this means for water supply. Our Samantha Hoffman reports.
The Gunlock Reservoir supplies irrigation water for Santa Clara, Ivins, and West St. George. The Water District says that while the falls are indicative of a healthy water supply for the west side, it does not mean that the water is stable for the rest of the county, saying it's a terribly dry winter.
We were able to jump off them. We
like tested the heights and stuff. I just like to listen to the water.
The Gunlock Falls are expected to flow for the next few weeks.
I was surprised that it was going this year without all the water we haven't had.
Corey Cram with the Water Conservancy District says the reservoir is at 106% capacity.
It does give a false sense of how well we're doing in the river system, because this was a result of big precipitation events that don't do us that much in the watershed.
Cram says while storms wash through the system, snow melts slowly, offering a continuous water supply. But he calls this year's snow levels discouraging.
Quail Creek and Sand Hollow reservoirs in particular are going to be at about 70% of normal. And so the year started out pretty pathetic, one of our worst on record.
While they feel they have enough water to last the next year, the district says they'll need users to make conscious water decisions moving forward. Is there a potential of using excess water here for other parts of the county?
In the future, probably 10 years down the road, we are working on plans to take wastewater and turn that into reuse water that can be used for agriculture. And then in turn, some of this water will be freed up and we will treat that for drinking water for use on the west side of the county.
Even if it's not the sign they wanted, hikers are enjoying the phenomenon.
I love the scenery. I love all the different falls. And it's great to see all the people out here taking advantage of this wonderful, beautiful falls that is just so unique. I love it.
If you plan on visiting the falls, the park regularly updates their website on whether they are flowing. They advise hikers to not jump in and be cautious, as rocks can be very slippery. In Gunlock, Samantha Hoffman, KUTV News.
Okay, look at this beautiful video. This is from the 2 News drone showing the Great Salt Lake. Right now, lake levels are around 4,100 feet. That's 6 feet lower than the threshold for the lake to be considered healthy. Right now, the lake is higher than it was at its historic low point, which was set back in 2022. The state says that they have a goal to restore the lake to a healthy level before the 2034 Winter Games right here in Utah. The Federal Aviation Administration just selected Utah as one of 8 testing sites for next-generation electric aircraft. These planes will start showing up as soon as this summer. Governor Cox says that this will help create jobs and strengthen mobility for people across the state. Data from the Utah test flights will also help the FAA craft new regulations for electric planes. On Utah's Capitol Hill, State Senate President Stuart Adams says a bill lawmakers passed at the very end of the legislative session will not be going to Governor Cox's desk. After a review, Adams says voting on House Bill 212, county formation amendments, did not end before the clock struck midnight Friday. Because it passed outside the constitutionally required time frame, it's invalid. The bill would have clarified procedures for creating a new county in Utah. All right, let's check to see what the weather is looking like with our meteorologist, Chase Thomason. Hey, Chase.
Today was the warmest day of the year so far, which is nice to be outdoors, but our snowpack numbers are going to be dropping, especially with all the very mild weather that I am forecasting over the next couple weeks. You'll notice across the west, every state is below average, and a lot of orange on the red indicating well below average numbers, including the state of Utah at 64% of median. And again, that number is going to be dropping. Today, 71 degrees in Salt Lake City, so we're melting some of that snowpack, especially that lower level snowpack, well above average and close to a record high. It's been a little breezy today with those winds, but those winds will be relaxing a bit later tonight. They'll be picking back up tomorrow, but the winds are changing direction. Today they were out of the southwest, bringing in that warm air. Tomorrow more out of the northwest. We got a cold front that's going to be sliding through, mainly a dry cold front, but a little breezy tomorrow. Winds at 15 to 25 miles per hour statewide. Higher gusts are possible across northeastern Utah and southwestern Wyoming. And because of this cold front, it's going to drop the temperature by about 10 degrees. Biggest impact will be in northern Utah. A little bit of rain and snow up in Montana, but a lot of that moisture is going to stay away from Utah. We'll have just some cloud cover. So by 4 a.m. tomorrow, that cold front is rolling through far northern Utah, hitting the Salt Lake Valley during the commute. But notice, no rain or snow, just some cloud cover. If we're going to see a light snow shower, the best chance will be across extreme northern Utah, southwestern Wyoming, and maybe the Uintas. And it'll be a brief window during the afternoon, maybe a few flurries in Rock Springs. That's about it. I-15 corridor is quiet, but again, that temperature will be dropping a little bit, and it'll feel a bit more like mid-March out there. Tonight, not bad. We'll see overnight lows in the 40s here along the Wasatch Front, a little bit cooler in the Wasatch back into the 30s, and through central Utah also into the 30s. Tomorrow we'll call it mostly cloudy in northern Utah and partly cloudy down south, but temperatures still in central and southern Utah into the 60s and 70s. But notice the cool down will be in the 50s for highs tomorrow. Logan only a high of 48 degrees, so jacket weather for our friends in Cache Valley. So we have this big ridge of high pressure that's hanging out to our southwest, and it's bringing in that warmer air. We still have another, looks like a dry cold front for now, that'll be sliding in over the weekend as the main part of the storm just clips northern Utah. I'm leaving the forecast dry, but we'll have some cloud cover. And then by the middle of next week, in about the next 8 or 9 days, high pressure really takes charge across the desert southwest, and we're going to see potentially some record-breaking heat. Maybe some 90s in St. George and 80s in Salt Lake City in March. That doesn't happen very often. 70s in St. George through Wednesday, then the 80s are back Thursday, Friday through the weekend. A little breezy over the weekend, partly cloudy skies, and look at the +2. Highs in the 90s in southern Utah next Tuesday and Wednesday. Salt Lake, mostly cloudy, little breezy tomorrow, sunny on Wednesday, 55, then warmer, 67 on Thursday, 70 on Friday, a little bit cooler or a dip coming our way over the weekend with more clouds, highs near 60 on Sunday, but look at next week. We'll be into the 70s on Tuesday, and how about 80 degrees next Wednesday.
Coming up on Arc Salt Lake, the annual Feed Utah Food Drive is here. How you can donate. The annual Feed Utah Food Drive is now underway all across our state, and you can help the Utah Food Bank by dropping a donation into a bin at any associated food store, including Macy's, Lynn's, Fresh Market, Dan's, and Dick's. And the food bank says that they need non-perishable goods like beef stew, chili, peanut butter, or boxed meals. The food drive runs until March 14th. The Vatican Sistine Chapel is undergoing a major cleaning and restoration. And, you know, the reason might surprise you. According to the Vatican Museum, a buildup of whitish red residue has basically dulled the colors of Michelangelo's The Last Judgment. And so that residue, caused in part by the breath and sweat of millions of people who visit the chapel each year. Ew. The circulating acidic moisture created these microparticles on the work surface, and so it resulted in a buildup of calcium lactate, a technique involving deionized water and thin paper is being used to carefully restore the fresco. Ooh. Well, thanks so much for joining us this evening. We'll see you again tomorrow.